Pandemonium Estate is an otherworldly thematic adventure board game that spans across 3 full-length replayable storyline modes. You will play as one of 8 characters confined to the walls of an interdimensional mansion that exists between world and time. Finding that you have been pulled into the mansion against your will, your goal will now be to adventure through the storyline of your choosing and be the player that gains the most essence by the end of the game.
Hi there, welcome to our channel. I'm Beck.
I'm Nick.
And we are MV Board Gaming. And today we're excited to talk to you today about Pandemonium Estate. This is a Gamefound project. It was published by Winter Moon Games and designed by Christopher Bowden. It's for 2 to 5 players, and Nick is going to go through how he heard about this project.
Yeah, I happened to see a posting on this project by the designer looking for, some content out there. A little late in the game though, because the project was already live, and it's Gen Con time, so it's not the ideal maybe time. So I feel like he needed maybe a little assistance with getting coverage out there, and I offered. I looked at the game, it looks good. I don't just cover any game. We get offers, that don't really fit our play style. Not that they're bad games, just that it's not our play style. This one looked like it was our play style in general, because the appearance, it looked well done, everything. So I offered it. No charge, nothing like that. All this will just be our own thoughts. We're not getting anything out of this. Not to discount the fact that a person that wants us to look at a game has to pay for shipping, obviously, to get us the game, but we don't get anything other than that. So I'm going to give you a little rundown of what you're doing in this game, and then we're going to talk about things that we liked and things to be aware of if you're going to think about backing this project. So this game, first off, I did explain what we're doing, what the whole theme and whatnot is. So let's go over what you're doing on your turns and whatnot. So you have phases here. You have the favor phase is the very first thing you do. That's how you get resources. You're going to roll dice, and both players are going to get the resources that you can spend during that turn and save into later turns. However, there is a limit of these resources. Then you have what the crux of the game is, which is exploration phase. Here you can do movement. You can move between 1 and 6 spots. You have to move at least 1, and you cannot go back to the spot that you were already on. Then you can take up to 2 actions. Again, you can do this in any order. You can take up 2 actions at that point, and I'll go over actions in a moment. You can also, at this point, spend keys to play items from your hand, and you can complete storyline objectives. So actions. Actions you can do are dash. That gives you additional movement between 1 and 2 extra moves in any direction, as long as you have a connecting route. Inherit. You can a player can gain 1 favor or key. You can vitalize and spend essence to unlock perks at the bottom of your player sheet. You can duel, so the little combat system that you have with your opponent or opponents, and you can go ahead and spend adversary token to challenge an opponent. So then you'll flip your adversary marker, and then you cannot challenge them again until you replenish, which is the other action you can do, replenish your adversary tokens. And those are your main actions you can do. So once you're done with the exploration phase, you can move to the Vestige Phase, which is very simple. If you happen to have any cards on the table that are unstable gemstones, you will activate those abilities that are in play. And then you can turn order players that are on these different spots, and I'll show that right here. These different spots right here, if you end your turn on those spots, you're going to resolve one of the Vestige card and pass the first player token. And then you go ahead and begin the favor phase over again. That gives you a general idea. There's also a reference sheet to look at right here, and double-sided to go over iconography and dice and so forth. So a big reference sheet that came with the game. It has 5 of them for the 5-player count.
Yeah.
So let's go over things we like. Vic, you want to start us out?
Sure. Yeah, right away when I saw the game, this is a prototype that we had sent to us, so it's not the final production copy. However, I did like the artwork. I did like the look of the game. I thought that it was neat how the board came together, so that right away made a cool impact to me. And knowing that we were playing one of 3 scenarios that are available with the game, so it was neat to see that this game was going to be different each time we played it. So
replayable scenarios. So we didn't care that we played it again. We wanted to play the same one again because we enjoyed Marauders so much. It's like, we're going to keep playing Marauders because of exploration and so forth.
Yeah. So I really liked that part.
You want to keep going through all of them?
Sure.
I think you have a list. Yeah.
I do have a list, yeah. So I love the fact that there's some player interaction in the game. I like that things are meaningful, which leads to my next point about the rooms changing. So there's this Vestige event that can happen where it can impact certain spots on the board, certain rooms of the board, and going forward, when you go into those rooms or you exit maybe out of those rooms or you start a turn in those rooms or different conditions are met, when you do that, it's going to change your game experience, which is really neat. It's always cool to be able to play something and think about other factors that are going to work into your game and what your strategy will be. I really enjoyed the items that you have. There's many item cards. Would you say 40? Did you say
there are 40, 41, something like that?
Mm-hmm. So there's lots of items that are going to also change how you play the game too. They may reward you for different actions, or you have a choice on when you're going to play it. They may have, you're going to play this right away when you draw the card, or you're going to maybe choose to equip it as an ongoing ability, or you can choose to use it as a one-time action. So really love the versatility in those item cards. I thought that really made for a great gaming experience. Obviously the different scenarios, as I mentioned, and I really enjoyed the combat system. I'm not really huge on the take that, but I'm getting warmed up to it because I realize if I can have take that done to me, I can also do take that. So it's not terrible. And in this game, with the Marauders scenario, we were digging for treasure. You're trying to get certain items that pair. And so when you look over and you see someone has an item that you need, it kind of, you understand why somebody would attack you or you're attacking someone. It's not personal, right? It doesn't feel like the take that is meant to be to knock someone down from leading the game or something like that. It's really, attacking a leader. It's not really that. It's a nuanced sort of approach to combat. And I like that there is mitigation for the dice by spending the favor. That's always a good thing for me, to be able to mitigate results when you get dice, because it's such a random luck result when you roll dice. So it's nice to be able to change those results and also have different symbology in the game that the dice face have, where there's going to be rewards maybe given for certain results that won't be so bad if you lose or it's a tie. So that's kind of a short list of my...
Yeah, and I like that. That's a good point too about the dice, that you at some point you have to determine, do I want the combat dice, or this dice actually that I rolled gives me essence for all the swords maybe I rolled. So do I want to waste that dice to get essence instead of the sword that I need? Or do I really want just the essence? Give me victory points, essentially.
Yeah.
So there is some thought in that. It's not just swords, shields, how many swords, how many shields. Definitely like that, because that would be a little boring if there's just swords versus shields and that's it. Nothing to think about, just roll. And I like the fact there's only one reroll. You can't just keep spending a favor and then just get the results you want.
I like that too, yeah.
Yes, very good. All right, some likes from me. So going through the Marauder storyline, I liked the digging so much. I liked that you were trying to acquire sets that match what you're going for. And like Vic said, you can attack other players if they have something that you need for a certain set. I really like the exploration of that too. The digging and seeing what you can get. You get 2 treasure cards underneath. Don't know what they are, hoping that it matches with your set or start something new that you're actually interested in. And they're not just straight victory points. There are things that will be ongoing. There will be things that endgame points. There will be things that are negative that you can give to your opponent even. Find different ways to do that. A lot of variety in those treasure cards. It's very fun to dig. Moving through the game is a puzzle in itself, and I didn't see that when I first looked at the game. I was confused of the movement. Now that I've played it a couple times, the movement is a puzzle in itself. It's a game in itself, because these action spots, there's things you can jump across the board directly opposite. There's things you can move to adjacent spots, like adjacent boards, I should say. And there's things where you can rotate the board. You can switch the board around and just see. You're trying to puzzle out the quickest way to get different spots, because half of the game is moving around most efficiently. Like the movement part of this game, which is a big part of the game. I like that there's a limit. There's a limit. The characters all have a limit to the essence, to the favor tokens, to the keys that they can hold, because it encourages you to spend them. Because if you don't spend them, you're not gaining them. You're just wasting them, because you're going to get some probably in the favor phase.
Yeah.
It encourages you to spend them, get some more actions. It's almost like a bank when you get those essence perks at the bottom. Yes, you're spending more than you're getting, but you can only have so many essence. You might as well spend it. There's a cap on these resources. You can't just hoard them and save them for later in the game. It encourages you to spend them. I like that. It's a nice touch. The art, as Vic mentioned, very good. I love the art. At first, I didn't like the board art when I saw pictures of it and different things. But once I had it in front of me, I like the board art even. It's clear what's going on. I can see the past. I can see where I can go. I like it. Before I played it, and just saw pictures of it, it didn't impress me. I didn't really like that. It looked discombobulated. But once it's in front of me, I like the art.
Yeah, when it was out on the table, just the way that you see it laid out, it looks cool.
Yeah, the board is surprisingly cool when it's right in front of you. So one thing that's really cool is when you were saying that your pros, we didn't have that many that match. We have different pros that we thought of other than the art right there.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to mention that. Exploration, I also mentioned my very last thing on this list, but I already touched on that. The exploration in the Marauder's Phase, or the Marauder's storyline, was really good. I like that. That was really strong. So we're going to go over things to be aware of. If you're going to back this project, before you do, just be aware of some things. I'll start.
Yeah.
Things to be aware of. Did you mention character abilities?
No, I wanted to, and that's what I was just about to say at the very end. One thing I want to say is it's neat that you have 8 different characters in the game, and they all have different abilities that you can use, which will change the way you choose to play the game. You may want to exploit a certain action because you're going to get rewarded for that. So it will change up the way you play and will reward you differently, and may... it makes for a different experience every time you're playing. So that was another thing I thought was neat.
When we were playing, you liked the abilities, so I thought it'd be a pro in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was going to mention to counter that, so I was kind of waiting for that to be brought up, that I don't know. I think they need to be honed in. The player abilities maybe need to be honed in because we've tried 4 different players, right? And I felt like some of them weren't getting the essence that others were. Yes, we can do different things to really build those essence, but some of them trigger off automatically at a phase. You get an item card in the favor phase. So if you have an ability that gives you things for item cards, gaining item cards, you're guaranteed to get one every round. Unless you have too many item cards, you just can't.
Yeah.
But you can easily play one for one key, So I do feel like those need to be dialed in a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 of them. The take that in that game is something to be aware of. Of the 40 or 41 item cards in the deck, 18 I saw were take that cards. So if you're not a take that person, I wouldn't encourage you to spend the money on this game. I wouldn't. You have to be aware that there is take that in this game. You have to know what you're buying. And if you're down with that, this game's awesome. You're going to like it. And it's not, Vic and I were dropping F-bombs at each other, I'll be honest, but very lighthearted. Like,
yeah.
And we're just laughing the whole time. And I told the designer that, and he's like, I wish I could put that in the review part, like just have a caption of us saying that. Obviously can't be vulgar on a Gamefound page. But it was very lighthearted. It was a 2-player game. Who else am I going to attack? Who else is she going to attack? We're dueling constantly. We're doing these negative cards to each other, but it's all in fun. I never once felt like, I never actually felt the way I was talking.
Yeah, we didn't go to bed angry.
No. But we were vulgar in a laughing manner.
Yeah, kind of seasons like to me, but...
Yeah. So nothing to be aware of. If you're going to play this at 2 players, that's going to be more targeted, obviously. Nature of it. You only have 1 person target, it's going to be more targeted.
Yeah, it's not like it's unrecoverable, though. Yes. I just feel
Right. Keeping track of what you're doing, I felt was fairly difficult. There might be something, again, we have a prototype. There might be something to track some of these things. So, because you can do your movement, maybe do 3 moves, and then do an action, and you realize, I still have 3 moves left. And you can go back to do those moves. I had checked the designer. It might be something to track maybe how many actions. Say, I've done 1 action. Because you're jumping back and forth. You're doing a storyline thing. That's not an action. I'm doing, all these other things that aren't actions necessarily. Playing an item card. And then you're jumping back, like, how many actions did I do?
We would ask each other, yeah.
And it might be something nice. There's a bunch of games that, you can track your actions. Move a chip up and say, I've done an action, or what it might be. That's something to consider. And do I have anything else? No, that was it. That's the only thing I had to consider. What did you have?
Yeah, so for me, I had just a few things. I think that the player turns can be longer than others, some of them. And one thing that I thought was kind of good was to have a set cap on the number of rounds. The different scenarios will be, different amount of rounds depending on what you're playing. But we had played 6 or 7 in Marauders.
Yeah.
And it's good to see that there will be an end to the game, a set end, maybe, and a story will trigger or something will happen. That is exciting, in itself, to know that there's a set limit. and this is how the game is going to end. That's cool. Although I did feel that some turns may be longer than others, and then in the beginning of the game might be really quick. Then you're going right now to the next round. You don't have, but that's very characteristic, I think, of games.
Yes.
You know, as you get into the weeds of them, and you're trying to get
actions get longer.
Yeah, actions get a little longer. The take that aspect, you mentioned that already, so won't go into that too much. But again, I'm a softie, and I could handle it. So
yeah.
I don't think it was that brutal.
Right.
Lots of symbology throughout the game. So the player reference sheet, that's another thing I didn't say, but I love player reference sheets. I love having a sheet that tells me everything. It's really good. It has a lot of information on it. The symbology is going to change depending on the module that you're doing. There may be some in play. So the first few times you play a game, you're going to learn the symbology that's on the cards, and it's not intuitive. It's not obvious to you that this symbol means some way of playing the card, or means a time that the card comes out, or whatever the symbol may mean. But once you get familiar with that, I think that it's not going to be anything that's going to limit you too bad, and you're not going to have to reference it too much once you've learned it.
A couple games probably in. It's not that there's a ton of symbology. It's just that it's not maybe intuitive. Like I can't just look at that and say, yeah, I know what that means. You know, I have to look at this reference sheet, which it's nice to have. At least we have a reference sheet. I could say, oh, players occupying this space cannot be challenged to duels. That's what the flag means. I wouldn't know that, you know, just by looking at a flag. I think that's probably the key point.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, and what you're saying also, right, with things changing per storyline, do you mean like action spots that are different things based on the story?
Yeah.
Like where the treasure is different in the Marauder scenario?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's something. I mean, it just means that spot is something different in this scenario. Not that big. I wouldn't say that's a big negative.
No,
though.
it's not really a negative at all. It's just something that you have to be aware of, is that if you are somebody that can't remember symbols or has a hard time,
you have to take a glance at this.
You do need to just look.
Yeah, so if that would be a negative if it wasn't in this. Because then you're like, I got to go through the book every time, because again, so at least we have that.
So be aware that this thing has a great reference sheet.
Be aware of this pro. Well, that's about it.
Yeah, that's all I could really say in my things, to be aware of.
So Gamefound, we'll link it down below if you're interested in the game. We've shown some footage of the game, what it looks like. I described how to play it. If that interests you, check out their Gamefound. This one I think it'll have about 17 days left by the time I post this, so you have a full 2 weeks to consider backing Pandemonium Estate.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you liked this video. If you did, please click the thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel for more great Kickstarter and Gamefound previews. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.